Hello, just thought I'd make another video today. I am Brian, and I am the speaker for the dead. If you're new to my channel, actually, I'm new to my channel. So I thought maybe an appropriate thing to do today would be to tell you more about myself, to give you a better idea of why maybe you should spend some of your time and your valuable time and take, that precious commodity and use it listening to me. I mean, at some point you're going to ask yourself, who is this guy and why should I care what he thinks? There's a million people on YouTube all giving their opinions about this or that. I mean, and who really cares, right? Well, first off, my name's Brian. I live in Idaho. Now, I know that many of you will be confused and you won't know where that is. It's a small island off the coast of Florida. And it's not. It's a state in the United States of America. And just for my SJW people that might be listening, it's the one that if you tip it on its side and held it, it'd look exactly like a pistol. So don't let that freak you out. Actually, let it freak you out. We have a lot of guns in our state. Don't ever come here. It's terrible. It's awful. I tell people all the time how awful Idaho is. It's a horrendous place to live, and I say that mainly so that they won't come here and ruin it. I have issues with all the people that are flowing into our state right now, especially these liberals and Looney Tunes that are out there that they ruin the states that they're in. They vote in horrible people into office who tax them into oblivion and destroy their states, and then they move here complaining about how bad the state is that they just came from. California, you know I'm talking about, you right? New York, you too. Any state basically that's been controlled by Democrats for more than 50 years. So, Michigan, most of the northeastern states, California mainly. Really, that's the one that bothers me the most. California, Oregon, because they're the ones that are closest to us. And yeah, it's great. They show up in our state and they go, "Oh, California, it's so awful. I just can't take one more minute of it." All these liberals and all this craziness. Actually, they don't say liberals because most of them are. And they're like, "Oh, we can't take it any longer." And, we just had to get out. It was too crowded, too much crime, too many problems. And we thought we'd come here. By the way, you need to all change everything about yourselves and live the way we live. Which is always confusing to me. I think if you don't like where you were living, and you come somewhere else to get a better or different quality of life, why in the hell would you want to change them into where you just left? It's like my problem with immigration is that we're supposed to be a melting pot, but nobody melts in anymore. Now we tell everybody, come here, bring your cultures with you, and by the way, you don't have to change a thing. And that's not America. That's not what we were founded on. That's not anything to do with what this country is built on. We're built on immigrants who wanted to come here to be Americans, to experience the American culture, to be part of the American culture, which is a rich and beautiful and amazing thing that's taken in the best of the world and made it our own. It's not to say don't come here and you can't be who you were and you can't bring any of your traditions, but just bring the good ones. And if it isn't good, we don't want it here. And you should leave it wherever you came from and never, ever talk about it again. So it's just, we want the best. Anyway, this is supposed to see, I'm easily distracted. I'm kind of like a goldfish. Oh, shiny thing. So I apologize. My videos may be a little bit all over the place, but it's just because one thing always leads to another, which is probably one of the more interesting things about me is that I'll just jump all over the map and stuff like that. And it might sound confusing, but it all kind of ties back in together in the end. Anyway, so I am from Idaho. I love my state. It's a beautiful place. It's an amazing place to be, an amazing place to grow up. And I grew up in a small town on a small family farm. So my interests, most people think that makes you some hayseed hick and stuff. And what it did for me was it made me really look outside to find those things that were interesting to me, and so I ended up getting into science fiction and fantasy. The first real book I ever read, book, was The Hobbit, and I loved it from the moment I picked it up and started reading it. I'd watched the old cartoon. I can't remember. Rankin Bass, I think, was the producers of it. And they did all the Christmas movies, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and they were famous for doing a lot of kids films. And they made The Hobbit, and it was one of the first films I remember, that I really remember, mainly because Gollum, they did the scariest version of Gollum out of any of the movies, including the Jackson films from Lord of the Rings a few years ago. But I grew up, living vicariously through books and finding things, that I loved that were interesting. But I loved the farm life too. I loved working with my family. And this is back before they basically banned kids from working on their family farms, which I never understood that, how the government can tell you can't have your kids help you on the farm. Because it builds character, it teaches you how to work. I'm grateful to my parents for it teaching me how to work, and I worked long hours, and I really didn't get paid for it. And I just learned that this is what you have to do to survive, and this is what you have to do to help your family, to be there for your family. And it taught me that there's more important things than money. But I was raised in a good family. I'm a LDS. Member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. People like to call us Mormons. We are not Mormons. That was a slang term that was given to my faith by the people who didn't like it. And we just kind of accepted it a little bit for a long time actually, because, Mormon is a prophet to us. But, many misconceptions out there is, we worship Mormon, and we worship Joseph Smith, or Joe Smith, as non-member people like to call him. And we're not Christians, which has always puzzled me, because the name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ. And then of Latter-day Saints is just a qualifier on it to separate us from the ancient church that Jesus established. So, okay, missionary mode done. But I did. I served a 2-year mission for the church. Went to the great country of the United Kingdom. Spent 2 years of my life teaching about the gospel to other people, and spent a lot of time hearing and learning about other people's religions, which is very important to me. As a missionary, I felt like I couldn't possibly ask people to hear about my faith unless I was willing to listen to them about theirs. And I loved learning about so many of the faiths that are out there. The only one that I didn't really have any patience with was Islam. And just because I knew some people who had converted from Islam to Christianity of one form or another. Sometimes they were LDS, and sometimes they were, a different faith. And they could never go back to their home country, because if they did, they'd be killed. And it always baffles me. And there's a very large population of Muslim and Islamic immigrants in the UK. It's a huge thing there now, and even more so since I was there. But it's a scary religion. It's not a religion of peace. I don't care what anybody says. It's not a religion of peace, and that's my opinion. No religion of peace stones people for deciding to leave your faith, or cut your head off, or stone women to death because you saw a little bit too much of the skin on their face, or they were outside with someone who wasn't a relative of theirs. And I mean, their treatment of women is just absolutely barbaric. And I know that there are good people who are Muslim, who are of the Islamic faith. And it's sad, because I don't really get to see that side of it. I only see the worst and stuff. And then and now they're coming into our country and into other countries, and their religion and their philosophy and their ideology is completely incompatible with the West. And it's just, they form these little communities within the communities, and then they enforce their own laws and their own rules, and they pretend like they came here as refugees. Well, if the country you just left, this goes back to what I was saying before, if the country you just left was so terrible because because of the Islamic persecution. Why would you want to come here or to the UK or to wherever, Australia, wherever they go, and then create the same nightmarish conditions that you just escaped from? Because it always lends itself to totalitarian dictatorship like regimes, ruled by thuggery and brute force, and use Allah and the religion to cover the horrific things you're doing. And I don't have any patience for that. I don't have any patience for religion, any religion that tries to justify violence using God as a tool to do it. That's despicable. I don't like it when Christians do it. I don't like it when Muslims do it. I don't like it when anybody does it. And I have great respect for people who try and live their faith, try and live a good life, and have that philosophy of live and let live. Look for the best in people. It scares me the lack of religiousness that I see growing in our country, because that's what made America great. And I know before that saying became politicized, because of President Trump, make America great again. Well, America was always great. It always will be great as long as we're a moral people. And it's just like, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin that said, our system of government is, meaning republic, a democratic republic, which is what it is. It's not a democracy. Democracy is majority rule, and everybody else gets screwed. The beauty of our system is that the majority rules, but the rights of the minority are respected. And it's just sad to me to see kind of what's happening to us. But back to Benjamin Franklin. See, there I go. I'm off on something else. He said that our system of government is wholly inappropriate for an immoral people, or an amoral people, and that's not a direct quote. I'm taking a little bit of liberty there, but it's the general idea, and that's the truth. The capitalist system can be just as awful and horrendous as any other. Okay, it can't be as horrendous as some, but it can be a bad system of government, just as a closer were in that same realm as some of the others. Except for communism, socialism, and authoritarianism and all that stuff, those are just bad all the way around. There is no good to any of it. It's never good, not for a minute. No country that's ever tried it has ever done it successfully, because it can't be done successfully, because it always ends up being at the point of a gun. And anytime you do that, well, then you lost everything that was worth hanging on to. You've lost freedom, you lost choice, you lost everything. Capitalism can be taken to an extreme, though, where monopolies and greed and everything. That's why it takes a moral people to actually make this system of government work. And it's sad, because I don't see us being that anymore. I see Christians who aren't living as Christians, who would rather spit in your face than do one thing to help you, or anyone. Atheism is on the rise, which I don't have any problem with somebody who doesn't believe in God. If you don't believe in God, that's fine, but you need to believe in some morals. But that begs the question, where did you get those morals, and why do you think they're important if they didn't come from God? Anyway, so you're probably, I hope you're getting a sense of kind of who I am, and I'm not a throwback, because that's what, all the SJWs and people and liberals and stuff on the left side of the spectrum love to say about people like me is, oh, he's a dinosaur, and it just doesn't realize the modern world has changed. It's like, no, this has all been tried before. All this transgenderism, all this homosexuality running rampant, all this stuff, it's been tried before. And every civilization that's ever gone down this road has ended up destroying itself. The Greeks, the Romans, all of them. Once they get to a certain point where they're decadent, where there are no rules anymore, no morals, it's all relative. The system falls apart and they destroy themselves. It's just the way it is. And it's sad to me to see that that's where we're going. We're following down the footsteps, in the footsteps of some of the greatest tragedies that have ever happened in history. These great empires, these great, amazing places that were, some of the very foundations of our philosophy of this country is founded on their early principles. Not what they became, but what they started out to be. and we're going to go the same way if we're not careful. I respect people, and I'm always open to talking and being willing to listen to other people's points of view. But I have my own point of view, and I'm pretty strict in what I adhere to the things. But if somebody can prove to me that what I'm thinking or doing or saying is not the right way, I'm more than willing to change, or at least hear you out and respect your opinion. And that's sad that people can't, you can't just have a disagreement with people anymore. Now you got to shout them down. You got to scream in their face. You can't walk away going, we agree to disagree. And that's okay. And we're okay. And we can still be friends. And I can still say hi to you on the street. And no, that's all gone. It's punch you in the face, destroy you, attack you on social media, say terrible things about you. Because I believe homosexuality is wrong. It's another thing about me. But I also don't believe that you should ever do anything harmful to someone who's homosexual. I don't care. Quite honestly, I don't care. I don't have a problem with it. If you want to live that life, fine. That's your choice. That's the great thing about America. It's your choice. Live the way you want to. I just don't want to be pushed into it. I don't want to have it forced on me and be told that I have to live this certain way because you say so. That is disgusting. This what's happened with the bakeries and stuff, where they're being forced to make wedding cakes for something they don't agree with. What a stupid, horrendous thing. There's bakers all over. If that person won't bake a cake for you, go to somebody who will. Somebody who doesn't care. Somebody who doesn't have a problem with it. Why would you want someone who doesn't agree with you, doesn't want to participate in your wedding? Why would you want them involved in your wedding? You're just trying to take away somebody else's freedom. And that's all it comes down to. They're not taking away your freedom by not making you a cake. You can go somewhere else and find a cake or whatever. I just don't understand this forcing my lifestyle, my choice on other people and making them admit to me that it's normal. What if I don't think it's normal? What if I don't think it's okay? That doesn't mean I'm going to try and hurt you or stop you or do anything. I'll be friendly and kind to you. In fact, I'm a long haul truck driver who recently got a job where I'm actually home for a week or so, and then, not home, but I'm working locally, and then I go out over the road for a week or so. But I have been a long haul truck driver for years. I've done various other things. I've done local work and stuff, but I always end up going back to trucking because I don't have a college degree. I'm not highly educated. I just have common sense, which is a lot rarer in my opinion. Anybody can get a paper degree by just jumping through the hoops of college, which is all college ends up amounting to most of the time. At least to me. I tried it. I went to school for 3 years and walked away without a degree or anything. I learned some really great things. It was a good school. It was Ricks College when I went first, but it's BYU Idaho. And I learned some great things. But I also learned that the higher you get up in some of these programs, it's just all nonsense. It's the classes and everything. It's all about the professors. The professors are trying to, get themselves published or do this or do that. Teaching becomes a secondary thing. And I'm just thinking, if that's what you get out of the university, if you're not there to teach, if you're there to prosper or build your career in another way, get out. Get out. Nobody wants you there. I had professors that wanted me to be a self-teaching, like they come into class and they'd sit there and try and tell me how I should be, get into groups and then discuss this as a group and blah, blah, blah. And we'll do this little group project and I'm going to stand over here and, do whatever I want to do while you're learning from novices. And they wouldn't teach. They'd just sit in the classroom and kind of be a referee in a sport. All right, your group over here and your group over here, now compete. I want you to, it was awful. It was terrible because I wasn't learning anything because you're sitting in there with a group of people who are in the class to learn. It's like walking into a group full of people saying, I don't know anything about this subject. I'm here to learn from this guy who's supposed to know something about this subject. And he goes, nope, you're all going to learn from each other. Which you just admitted by walking into the room. You don't know enough about that subject to teach it. Because you don't know anything, or you know little enough that it's not a big deal. It's crazy. The current university system, college system in this country is broken. It is awful. It is horrendous. It is just a bunch of blah, 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 and you get out not knowing a dang thing more than you did when you went in. It's awful. Some people have, I mean, my wife is a nurse. She went through the program. She's very accomplished in her job. She's an amazing nurse. People stop us all the time. It's kind of crazy, like, because she deals with a lot of people in the hospital where she's at, and we'll be walking through a store or whatever, and you should just have people come up to her. Oh, I remember when you were my nurse. You were so great. It's usually women, because my wife is a labor and delivery nurse, so she works in the babies department essentially, and so and it's just I've never had anybody walk up to me, your wife sucks. She was a terrible nurse, and you should just go hang yourself, you and your wife. But no, I've never had that happen. So. But it was great for her. And I think if you're going into something very specific, then it's great. But the general education part, and they always use this, oh, we want you to be well-rounded. Well-rounded. We want you to be a rounded person. What if I don't want to be round? What if I wanted to be square? What if I wanted to be oval? What if I don't want to be forced into the shape you want me to be in? How about that? How can I be a triangle? I don't want to be round. I don't want you to force me to go to plays that I don't want to see. I'm not opposed to plays. In fact, when I was in high school, I was in drama. I did all kinds of stuff. I have huge amounts of interests. It's like I said, growing up on a farm, we were very rural out in the middle of nowhere. And this is back in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. I had to reach out through either TV or books or whatever to find, and this is before the internet. This is when people actually had to go out of the house and go look for stuff. I played outside most of the time and built car cities and stuff with my Matchbox cars, and built Lego, Enterprises and Reliance. This is when Wrath of Khan was big, and that was the life I grew up. My imagination was the thing I had to play with. Me and my brothers and stuff, and it made me close with my brothers. I still play computer games with my brothers on the weekends and stuff. I like computer gaming, science fiction. I love all kinds of films, all kinds of music. I'm probably the most eclectic taste of music kind of guy you'll meet. When people listen, when they're in my vehicle with me and I've just got my iPod or my iPhone shuffling through music, people just, we'll be listening to Def Leppard 1 minute and Mozart the next, because it's just shuffling through my library and I've got it all in there. And then it goes from Mozart to, rap music. Not the stuff they're making today. Most of the stuff that the rap music they're making today, I can't stand. But I'm talking about the early stuff in the 80s and 90s and stuff. That was when I really enjoyed, when I could enjoy rap music. Every once in a while, some of the rap artists now will come out with a song. I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. I like that. And my kids listen to a little bit of that. But it's kind of scary because I tell my kids all the time, I have 1,000 children. Okay, now I have 6. I have 1 boy and 5 girls. And they're always, I tell them, I'm like, I don't know if it's you living with me or me living with you, but I have the taste in music of a 14-year-old girl. I listen to Katy Perry and I listen to everything. And I love it all. If it has a good beat, if it's something I think it's going to be cool, I get it. Like I said, but I grew up in the 80s when Journey, Def Leppard, all that kind of stuff. When music was really, okay, this is going to date me. I'm about to say those words that you think, I'm never going to say that when I get older. And then you say it. You end up saying it, even though you don't want to, you're going to say it. The music just isn't as good as it was back when I was, but in a certain amount of way, it's true. The music now is so overproduced. It's good. It's got a lot of computer, and I like it. But I just wonder who's playing instruments. Where are the bands that play instruments? They just had that movie come out about Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, and I watched that. And what I loved was that my daughter actually went and saw it, and she's 17, and my oldest daughter, and she went and saw it and loved it. I told her, you're going to love this. You'll love Queen. You ought to go see this movie, because I love Queen. I grew up listening to Queen. And she went to the theater, and she wouldn't go when I said, but then the girl she worked with says, okay, you should go and to see this movie. And she's like, okay, I'll go see it. I said, no. Girl at work says, yes. Then she goes, anyway, so she went and saw this, and she came home, Dad, that's the best movie ever. I loved it. It was so great. And it is. It's a great movie. And I mean, I struggle with the homosexuality stuff in it, just because that just doesn't do it for me. And I'm not saying anything bad about it. Like I said, live your life, do your thing. But no, I don't want to see it. Okay? That makes me homophobic. Whatever. I don't care. Call me whatever you want, because I really don't care. I'm not politically correct, and I don't care if people get offended by stuff I say, because that's not my intent. If you get offended, that's you. If you take offense, that's something you're doing to yourself. I am not doing that to you. You are doing that to you. You can, and I can't remember if I've said this before in my other video, but one of the prophets of our faith, his name was Brigham Young, said, he was famous for this saying, and I don't know if this is exact quote, but this is as close as I understand it, as he who taketh offense when none is intended is a fool. And he who taketh offense when offense is intended is almost always a fool. In other words, don't let people have that kind of power over you. You decide whether you're offended or not. And if they don't mean to offend you when you get offended, you're a fool. You're an idiot. Okay? Now, he put it in kind of kinder wording than that, but it's the truth. I don't let people who have different opinions about me offend me. And if I get offended, then I work through it on my own, because, or I try and talk to them and find out, why did you say that? What did you mean? And if you're trying to offend me, then yeah, that's a problem. If you're going out there purposely trying to tear somebody down and offend them, you suck. But I mean, back to the homosexual thing, I worked for a Canadian company driving truck. And one of the best dispatchers I ever had was a gay guy. His name was also Brian. And best dispatcher I ever had. I had no idea he was gay until he ended up getting fired for I don't even know what. It wasn't related to that. I guess he did something wrong. Anyway, next thing I know, he's gone. And then somebody comes up to me afterwards and goes, well, you knew he was gay, right? And I'm just standing there looking at him like, what? And I'm like, no, I had no idea he was gay. That's the way I want it. That's what I'm asking for. Can you do that? I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the sexuality is. Okay? I don't want to know what you do in your bedroom. I don't care. If you're a good person, and this guy was great. He was a friendly guy, and like I said, best dispatcher I ever had. If I had problems and I was coming through to the yard area where the trucks are and stuff, if there was a problem, he'd come in after hours to fix something on the computer or do whatever it needed to be. He was just awesome. He was a great guy, a great dispatcher. And I had no idea he was gay, and I was grateful for that, because I don't need to know. All I need to know is you're a great guy. You're a good person. And he wasn't like, oh, he didn't do the feminine thing. He didn't try and be something he wasn't. He was just who he was. Now, if that's you, because I've known effeminate people, and that's fine. But they're straight, but they're kind of effeminate. Who cares? Who cares? Just treat me good. I'll treat you good, and there's no problem. Now, just because I believe what you're doing is sinful, that doesn't mean I hate you. I can separate your actions from who you are. And that's the thing. I hate the sin, love the sinner. Now, in today's world, with the SJWs and the crazy liberals out there, you can't do that. No, if you don't accept everything about me, then you hate my guts and you want to see me dead. It's like, what? No, I don't. I don't want anybody to die for what they think or believe. So it's, yeah. Anyway, so as I said, I'm married. I have 6 beautiful children. Love them very much. Thought we were only going to have, it's funny because we always wanted 6 when we had no kids. We were like, we want 6 kids, because I grew up in a family of 6, and my wife's family is like like crazy on her side of the family. There's like been divorces and remarriages, and there's like 15 kids between all the marriages and goings-ons and whatnot. And anyway, but and nothing against that. It's just, and she's got a great family. But it's, we thought, yeah, we're six is a good number. I had 6, and I loved growing up, and I loved having all those brothers and sisters and having them in my life and all this stuff, and it was great. And then we got to 4, and I'm like, I'm good, I'm done. 4's good. Yeah. Then we had 2 more, and everybody likes to say, well, you had a whoops. And it's like, no, we knew what we were doing was probably going to cause that condition, but I was hoping it wouldn't. You know what I mean? I thought we'd taken steps, but the steps weren't good enough. And my wife's one of these people who just is like, oh, there's more children up in heaven for us. We really need to have some more children. And I'm like, sweetie, there's more up there. I know there is. There's probably millions more up there. We can't have them all. Anyway, because I don't make enough money. I mean, I do pretty good as a truck driver, but yeah, that and I'm not here. So she ends up raising the kids basically on her own, and it makes me feel guilty. And anyway, that's a story for another time. But very family oriented. I had a great family growing up. My family growing up was the exact opposite of what I have now. We had all boys and 1 girl in my family growing up, and now I have 1 boy and all girls. And my son is out of the house. He graduated, and he's working and stuff and living on his own. And there's so much estrogen in my house. I can literally feel the fact that I'm getting boobs, man boobs. And they just get bigger every day, it seems like. Now, I don't know if that's because I'm a truck driver and I'm a little fat. I'm not fat. But, and something else I realized, if I do this video and looking down at the camera, it looks like I have 50 chins underneath here. It's awful. Ugh. Anyway, so I apologize. You have to look at this. It's like having Jabba the Hutt lecture you on politics and religion. Fun. I can't do his voice, or I would try, anyway. But it's just, so more things about me. I love anime. Didn't for a long time. When I was growing up, I thought anime was stupid. I'm like, oh, this is the dumbest thing ever. And I couldn't wrap my head around it. But as I've gotten older and stuff, I started watching it, and they started dubbing more into English and stuff like that. Series like Full Metal Alchemist, Soul Eater, trying to think of some of the other ones that I like. And now I've got my kids into it, which is weird that I actually got my kids into anime instead of the other way around. Like I said, I'm a 14-year-old girl or 14-year-old boy, however you want to, depending on the day. Music tastes of a 14-year-old girl and a 45-year-old man, and just everything all mashed together. Anyway, but love science fiction. I'm a huge Star Trek fan. I was until the last movie, and now the new TV shows. And now I would much rather just watch grass grow. They've ruined Star Trek. They've turned it into shove gay rights activism down your throat and stuff. Wearing a Batman t-shirt kind of tells you, 45-year-old Batman, that's going to work out real well. But they've ruined Star Trek for me. It's awful. The second they made, because George Takei, hope you like Star Trek because you're about to get a dose. Because George Takei, the guy that played Sulu on the original show and in the original movies, is gay. Which is fine. I don't have a problem with George Takei being gay. Or Takai. I'm not sure how you say his name exactly. I've always said it Takei. But in the last movie, they made Sulu gay. Sulu's never been gay. Sulu's never been told he was gay. Or we've never been told that Sulu was gay. And it's like all of a sudden, ta-da, here's his man, husband, person, and they have an adopted daughter in the last movie, Star Trek Beyond. Now that J.J. Abrams took it over. And I just, at that point, I was just, that was a horrible movie all the way around. I mean, just that wasn't the only thing that bothered me, because I have seen gay people in movies. And one of my favorite movies growing up was Mannequin. And I don't know the name of the black actor that does it, but he plays Hollywood. Hilarious. And I love that character. He was so funny in that movie. I don't have a problem with gay people in movies or gay actors, but it's like, it's not enough that they're just gay. Like, it has to be shoved in your face. Yeah. And the whole show becomes about them being gay and just sticking that right in your face and making sure that you know how normal it is, and don't question and don't think, and just everybody's gay. If you believed Hollywood, 50% of all people on earth are gay. Because like half the cast anymore is like gay or transgendered or have something going on. I love a series of books called The Mortal Instruments. Now, I found them before they became a movie or a TV show and stuff like that. And I was introduced to them when I was in the oil field by the wife of the guy that I was working for. And, City Bones, City of Ashes, City of Fallen Angels, there's a whole bunch of them. The author's name is Cassandra Clare, and I loved him. She has openly gay characters in that book, and I just kind of, when it gets to that part, I just kind of, my brain just goes and just disconnects that from what I'm like, okay, they're gay, but I don't want to get sucked into that relationship, because one of the main characters is a bisexual warlock. You learn a lot about me that if you're watching this, you knew me, and from before, you're gonna think, wow, I had no idea he was this weird. Well, lucky you. Now you do. But there's a bisexual warlock. His name's Magnus Bane. He's one of the funniest characters, one of the best characters in the book and stuff. But he's not openly pushy about it. It's just, that's just kind of part of who he is. And some of the other characters start getting on their soapbox and stuff. And as the series has been going on, she just starts, she's from New York, I believe, and she just keeps pushing more and more and more of this into the books, to where it's like, that's what it's all about now. And the last series of books that she started to do was kind of a spin-off from the original. And it's awful. It's all about just shoving identity politics into a fairy tale fantasy world story. It is just, and it's awful. I mean, now there's all of a sudden a transgendered character for no reason whatsoever. Just got shoved into the book like, I've had every sexual. I've had bisexual, and I've had gay people, and I've had lesbians, and which, same thing, oxymoron. But, I've got this character and this character. No, I'm just getting all the identities in there. I'm making sure everybody's represented. Really? It's not about the story anymore. It's about shoving every choice of... I'm waiting for the bestiality character to show up. I'm just like, no. I'm not interested in seeing a character have sex with a goat. Sorry. No. Anyway, so, anyway, and it's ruining that series of books for me. The best series she ever did was called the Clockwork series. It takes place back in the 1800s in England, and great series of books. If you have like kids and stuff like that, they're great. Another great series of books that I love is the Michael Vey series by I just lost his name. In fact, I was just talking with my daughter about the author today, and now I can't remember. Anyways, the first book is called Michael Vey, Prisoner of Cell Block 25. Great series of books. Absolutely phenomenal for kids, for young adults and stuff, which 14-year-old boy. But I love them. I love a lot of the young adult books. Harry Potter, when me and my wife first got married, I read, but I've always loved, ever since I was a kid, having people read to me. It's one of my favorite things. It's why I buy a bunch of audiobooks now, especially because I can listen to those while I'm going down the road, and I get to hear and be involved in lots of different book series. But I love the Harry Potter books, and the guy that read the Harry Potter books in the audiobook was absolutely phenomenal. Michael Vey's same kind of thing. It's a young adult series, but it's like teaching Richard Paul Evans. That's the guy who writes the Michael Vey series. but you know, the main characters start out in Idaho, which I guess maybe is why I have a little bit of soft spot for them. But I mean, but they go all over. I mean, and only a few of the characters are actually from Idaho or even originally here, and they, you know, most of them weren't born here. And I mean, anyway, enough about Idaho, people being from Idaho. But amazing series of books for adults, young adults, everybody. I mean, we would listen to these books when we went on road trips and stuff, because my kids love them, I love them, my wife loves them. You know, Lord of the Rings, I love all that kind of stuff, and so it's kind of hard for me to find books that I get, because I love history, huge history fan, especially the World War II era. Such an amazing period in our history. There's so much sacrifice, to fight the very things that now our country is just willingly handing itself over to. Our people have been lied to and deceived, and the politicians and the left has taken over our schools and indoctrinated our kids. We've lost generations of kids to this horrible socialist, you know, stuff that's been pumped into the schools. I don't know how many times my kids, even in Idaho, where my kids have come home from school and they'll start, my daughter comes home one day and goes, "Dad, Malcolm X was a really great guy." And it really took everything in me not to just whack her in the head. Okay, I'm not a violent person, and I don't hit my children hard. Anyway, no, I was like, okay, really? Why do you think that? And inside, I'm just going, no. You know, that Luke Skywalker moment in Empire when he finds out that Darth Vader's his dad. It was just like that. No. Anyway, my daughter, so she starts telling me why Malcolm X is so great. And then I started telling her the real history of Malcolm X. And I mean, not to destroy this guy, because I don't think Malcolm X was an evil guy, but the way he wanted to handle things, the way he wanted to do, I mean, violence was the answer, and do whatever you got to do to just get back at people who over slavery. And slavery was horrible. It was horrible. There's no defense of it. It was horrible when it happened to the Jews. It's horrible when it happened to the blacks. It's horrible when it happens to anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. But there's more slavery in the world today than there was back then. Sex slavery, child slavery, child slavery. I mean, it is more pervasive today than it was back then. It's just hidden, and it's cloaked, and it's not like institutionalized in a country. And so nobody sees it, and everybody pretends it isn't happening anymore. And it isn't just black people that are enslaved. It's white people, Chinese people. It's everybody that are enslaved to one group or another group, and everybody's just like, it's all good, it's fine. That's what bugs me, is like the black people in our country think that it only ever happened to them. And they use it as an excuse to not do anything with their lives. It's like, well, somebody should pay me for that. Something happened to my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa. Your great-great-great-great-great-grandpa owned my great-great-great-great-great-grandpa, and that you owe me something. I don't owe you a thing, mainly because my family wasn't even, I don't think, in this country when that was going on. And slavery was something that was handed to us from the British. We tried to end it under British rule and weren't allowed. Anybody who knows anything about history, see, off I go on a tangent. History. Anyway, I love history. And I love learning the truth about history. I love finding out the real facts and not somebody's twisted, screwed up version of history. I want to know the truth. I want to know what's really going on. Anyway, there's a lot of different things about me. I love being outside. Me and my family, we love going camping. We love going four-wheeling, which if you don't know what that is, that's a four-wheeler, which is an all-terrain vehicle, smaller than a Jeep, and you go up into the foothills. Idaho has, see, here I go telling you things that are going to make you want to move here. Come here to visit. Don't come here to live. Anyway. But the beautiful four-wheeler trails up into the most beautiful mountains and areas of the country that if we didn't have four-wheeler trails, I mean, it'd take you forever to go see these places on foot. And you'd run out of time, and you'd be 900 years old by the time you got done. But I mean, we get to spend a lot of time outdoors. We go camping and we spend days and days and four-wheelers and fishing and just we have a ball outside, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So tell me about you. Tell me about what you love. Tell me about what you want to hear about on this channel, what you like to hear my opinion on and stuff. And if you don't want to hear my opinion, then don't say anything. Or just say, shh, Brian, shh, we don't need any more opinions. So just to give you a quick idea, I'm going to do a short review of the movie that seems to have brought up a lot of controversy, especially for me. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on this from some really great sources, world-class bullshitters. Sorry, swore. And Nerdrotic and Forever Computing, and a lot of these guys are talking about this. And I went looking mainly because I was so disgusted by that movie, The Last Jedi, that basically did to, well, the last two Star Wars films basically did to Star Wars what they did to Star Trek. They took it, this great thing, this iconic thing made by great creators, and they just crapped all over it. I walked out of that theater, and my kids had gone with me, my oldest daughter, or my oldest daughters and my son. My wife's not a huge sci-fi fan. She did like the last one, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. She really liked that one, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't exactly Star Trek, but it was good. I mean, it was all right. And I remember I walked out just disgusted. And the longer I've thought about it, the more I hate that movie. It is just everything that Star Wars is not. They tried to Marvelize, like Marvel company, Star Wars. Make stupid, goofy humor that doesn't work in Star Wars. It's great in the Marvel movies. I love the Marvel movies. They're awesome. And I really enjoyed them. I will not see Captain Marvel because I can't stand that woman. Because she's a social justice warrior, and I can't stand any of that nonsense. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what gender you are. I see you as a person, not as an identity group. And I don't like it when people try and divide us based on that. But that's what they're doing in Star Wars now too. And these horrible characters that they've got. I just remember walking out being so angry, so upset. Almost right from the get-go, and I kept sitting there for whatever it was, 2.5 hours or whatever, how long it was, thinking, it's going to get better. You know, and it's happened to me in movies before, but never in a Star Wars movie that bad. I mean, The Force Awakens wasn't great. It was a rehash of New Hope, and I think it was wonderful. But, I mean, Last Jedi, there aren't enough bad adjectives and foul words that I could say to really cover my feelings about that movie. And most people are like, well, it's just a movie. Yeah, but it's an iconic movie. It changed everything when Star Wars came out. Now they've had all this great stuff, and now they're the fans and everything, and then they just took it and just went, yeah, we don't want any of you people involved. We're just going to chuck you in the garbage. And they created these horrible characters that are the Mary Sue character, the Rey, who just magically has the Force. Nobody knows why she's so dang good. She didn't train for more than 30 seconds in the movie. Luke Skywalker, what they did to him was foul and disgusting. What they did to Han in the last one was foul and disgusting. They killed him in a pointless, worthless way. He should have died, a hero or trying to do something great or noble. And I know he was a scoundrel. And he was trying to save his son. I get it. But, I mean, really? Just, oh, Dad, help me, and I zoom, and I put a lightsaber through you? What? Anyway, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on this, but it was so bad. I mean, the sea cow with the green nip or green milk coming out of big boobs, and Luke drinking it like a creepy psycho, like he's trying to weird her out, and I mean, it went from bad to worse to worse to worse. And the porgs, I sat there thinking the whole time, if I had a gun, I would shoot every single one of them. I mean, just like skeet and pull. Awful, stupid things. They relegated Chewbacca to this goofball character that, anyway, I mean, it was awful. From beginning to end, story didn't make sense. Nothing was, I mean, the Rose Tika, the Asian gal character, I don't care that she's Asian, I don't care if she's a girl. I don't care about any of that nonsense. I just wanted a good story. Why couldn't they do what they did with Rogue One? Rogue One, I can watch over and over and over. It's the best Star Wars movie since the originals. It beats the prequels, hands down. It feels like a Star Wars movie. It's serious, but it's got that little wit and clever humor that George Lucas would work in. It was a good film. I can sit there and watch that, like I said, over and over and never get tired of it. The guy that plays the android in that, can't even think of the name of the android, but I like him as an actor. He's a great actor, and he did an immense job as that. I liked all those characters. They were instantly likable. Everybody's like, can't even remember the main character's name, the girl. Anyway, everybody like got after it. Oh, she's it's just woman's lib throwing. I didn't get that from that. I thought she was a good character. You know, she was a broken character. She was somebody who, I mean, she watched her mother get killed by this horrible guy. Her dad gets taken away from her, and she gets raised by a rebel. You know, and I mean, she's raised in this fighting environment where it was an awesome Star Wars story. And you know what? And everybody's like, well, they all get killed in the end. Yeah. All stories don't have a happy ending. How many people died in World War II sacrificing themselves so that the rest of us could be free now? Heroes don't always come home. And there are sacrifices worth making. And that's the thing I take away from movies like that, is that, you know what? They knew that it might be a one-way trip, and they did it anyway because it was worth doing. So whatever you do, don't buy The Last Jedi. Don't go see it. If you haven't seen it, don't go see it. If you even like Star Wars, even science fiction and all, don't go see it. Just don't do it. It will ruin everything for you. Kind of like Star Trek Beyond ruined Star Trek for me. I mean, it really was the death nail. It was just a horrible movie, very badly done. Didn't make sense. It was idiotic. And it's like, that's what they're doing. They're trying, all these companies are trying to take all these great things that everybody grew up with, that used to teach moral, decent lessons, but they didn't do it like in a boom, in your face way. They used metaphor, and they used all these things to try and help people see to be the better. That's one of the things I loved about Star Trek. Help you be better, you know, tomorrow than you are today. Learn a lesson. Think of it in a different way, that maybe put yourself in somebody else's shoes. I mean, whatever the lesson was, it was great. Not that I always agreed with the lesson, but it made me think. And now it's just like shove it in your face and tell you how to think and what to think, and you have to like our opinions, and gosh darn it, everybody's gay and transgendered and this and that and this, and it's all about that anymore. Nobody's telling good stories, and they're just ruining everything that we all grew up with. And I want it to stop. It's awful. Happy thoughts, right? That's why you wanted to come here, Brian and his cranky old man rhetoric. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay, because we all have our opinions. And, you know, tell me what you think about this video. Tell me whether you liked it. Tell me if it was too long. I see it's going on 53 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a little bit better sense of who I am. If you want to ask me some other questions, maybe things I didn't touch on. I tried to think of as many parts of myself as I could. But, you know, it's hard to do that in a short video and stuff, because there's so many things that, you know, you like or don't like or whatever. But anyway, thanks for watching. I am the Speaker for the Dead, and see you next time.